Hey everyone, and welcome to a new series of my Let's Play of Hearts of Iron 4. This time, we're going to try out as Brazil here. We're going to attempt to do a little homage to the Olympics and do a little bit of a series that I'm going to title The Wrath of Rio. So, yeah, that's the working title. We're going to go with it. I thought it was cool. I've been working on that for days. Don't argue with it. If you do, too bad. I'm sticking with it. Wrath of Rio it is. Anyway, so we're going to play as Brazil. We're actually going to take this one kind of slow. What we're doing is we're playing this on normal mode again. We're playing it with, do I want to play it on normal or do I want to play it on hard? I think as Brazil I need to do it as normal. We're not playing as a superpower or anything to make it easy. I think if we play another multiplayer I need to bump it up to hard. But a single player as a sub-country, probably want to do it as medium. Alright, so we are doing it in historical, and I'll explain why when we get there. But historical is kind of clutch, kind of not, but it prevents me from wanting to really cheat the system. So anyway, as Brazil, we start off with, decent sized force here. We have what, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stacks of infantry, maybe 7 stacks of infantry, a handful of ships, some decent territory. Handful of planes. We're the neutral focus, or standard focus, so nothing too big there. I'll get into what we are going with there, but yeah, we're going to take this one a lot slower, work it step by step, so you can either repeat what I'm doing, follow what I'm doing, duplicate it if you want, or just in general see, use this as like a main tutorial. I don't know, just we're going to take it a lot slower, try and bang out a bunch more episodes that way instead of burning through it like 13 episodes before, 8 episodes before. Made a little too quick. So, some things we want to look at here is more or less we want to look at our resource or supply area first. So, one big thing is if we go anywhere north, we're going to be looking at really hard times getting our supplies up there. Through the rainforest is basically nothing. It's kind of garbage up there. So, we're at 0 out of 6 up there. We need to really improve it. It's mediocre at best. Down here, you're a little bit better, but not by much. You got at least 4 railway. I really don't know how to read this off the top of my head. So it's required a 0 because we don't have anything in there. So this is if we're currently looking at anything. So average infrastructure in the state is 2. Total is 4. Does it tell us what the 10 is? No. But it's better than the rainforest, which is this 1. So the first thing I'm probably going to need to do is build up infrastructure up there. So comparatively to up here, a little bit better infrastructure, a lot better infrastructure over here, because we're looking at 8, whereas it's only demanding 1 out of 44. It's 0 out of 40 there, 0 out of 6. Only 6 supplies can get through there. I think that's how we're reading it. The gas tank or gas can is telling us how much resources are available total for the area and how much is being drawn. So there's 0, but only 6 is available there. There's 27 available here, so not bad. 40 available here with 1 draw, so nothing major there. 1 being drawn out of 44 here. Same thing, that whole area. Oh, that's 0 out of 40 through there, and then that's the 1 out of 44. So we have 3 out of 75 here at our capital, and then down here we're looking at 1 out of 71. So you can see everything stems from the capital in terms of our resources. So one thing we're going to have to definitely do is build up resources in the rainforest, or not resources, but infrastructure, if we want to be able to take on all this area up here. Mostly because that's kind of where we're going to be expanding to either first or second. So down here, we might want to expand a little bit here because that's, one major hop. Well, we can probably get around it because our major hop, as you can see, is over here through the 40. So we're probably going to be fine there. So with that being said, let's take a look at the states. Not a big deal here, is what it is. So we have a bunch of jungle over here, which is the rainforest. You need to be aware of that. It's going to hamper movement and everything else. A lot of normal forests, jungle, and then plains area on the seaside with just hills and forests. So the next thing is going to be resistance. Don't care about that right now. Resources, that's going to be the big one. So what I have available to me is just 4 aluminium, 30 rubber, 4 steel, and then that's roughly it. So that's pretty much what I'm working with, is a lot of rubber, not much steel, not much aluminum. So looking up here to our neighbors, the Netherlands has a whole 12, not the biggest idea, don't want to go attacking them if I don't have to. France has 104 out of Guinea, and then Guyana has a whole 112. That's fantastic. So this area is really rich. The problem is fighting for it, because I'm having to fight France, which is over here, I'm having to fight England, which is up here, and I'm having to fight Netherlands, which is over here. So a lot of stuff I really can't deal with, because it would involve having to land way over in this area and deal with that sort of force. So not really ready to deal with that yet. Maybe down the road we can look into it, but not this moment. So let's look to our south, well, some of our other northern neighbors. So there's a ton of oil up in Venezuela. So that is an option, because Venezuela is currently fascist. The US does get things that can allow them to early on hit Venezuela. So if I beat them to the punch, I could pretty much take over these oil fields and I'll have oil for days. Colombia, on the other hand, is a secondary little area I can go to for oil. Ecuador is very little oil. Peru, very little oil, a little bit of tungsten. Now here's where we get into some interesting things. Bolivia has a lot of tungsten, 102 and 2 steel. Behind that, we got Paraguay with just a little bit of stuff. And then Argentina, which is probably going to be our next big target. That is a whole 46 tungsten and 8 steel, which is not bad at all. Uruguay has just a little bit of steel, a little bit of oil, so not a big priority. Oh, Argentina also has oil on as well. Now, the big one that we're going to want, because predominantly Brazil is going to be infantry focused. So with that said, we're going to need a lot of steel. So, moving through Argentina and into Chile would probably be our best bet, because there we have 24 steel. Not exactly a high amount. I mean, let's be honest, nothing is going to compare to like the United States areas where I'm looking at 40 in a singular state. You know, this is a stretch goal. We'll work our way there eventually. I think our early game is going to need to be going through the south of South America, taking over all these areas down here, and then we'll slowly work our way, capture all these areas, kind of box these guys out, worry about them later, and then slowly work our way up through Mexico and into the United States. Probably have to jump through Cuba. Yeah, you like my pseudo pronunciation, or pseudo attempt at pronouncing the names of these countries mildly right. I'm gonna get so much hate because I can't. I'm a, standard English speaking person out of Baltimore. But anyway, so yeah, we'll move up through Cuba. Cuba has a lot of chromium, so that'll help us build tanks, and then we can start fighting in the US. US, again, will probably be our big target. Once we hit the US, take Canada, then we'll be ready to fight in the main of Europe, and we can deal with that. But I think, again, our strategy is going to be southern part of South America, up through the northern part of South America, in through Central America, and then up into the North American areas, and then from there I can then spread out and go from there. A lot of resources down here that I can use immediately, a lot of resources I can use in late game up here. It's pretty much how we're going to look at it that way. In terms of our diplomacy, I'm pretty much an island unto myself. Nobody really cares about me. It is what it is. Or it's probably going to stay that way as I start taking over all my neighbors. So, factions, there's pretty much none. That's just the get-go from the game. Alright, so that pretty much takes care of our game plan. So, as to what I was going to be saying about why I don't want to, or why, what was I going to say? I need to play historical, is because of the United States. So, their national focus can get really hairy if you do not play historical. Historical, they'll mess around out here for a while, and then they'll slowly work their way across, and then they'll start dealing with over here. The big thing that I don't want to happen is Pax Americana. When Pax Americana happens, they can start to intervene in the wars between American countries. Until then, they simply are guaranteeing all of our statuses as independent against the rest of the world. So until the United States hits Pax Americana, I kind of have free reign. I still need to move stupid fast, but I kind of have free reign to go and stomp all this stuff. Now with that said, if I were to allow them to do ahistorical, there is a very good chance they'll go right down to Pax Americana right away. And that'll pretty much ruin my ability to do anything, as I'll have to immediately start fighting the United States really early and pretty much preventing myself from doing anything. Alright, so so the cheat as to why I didn't want to do that is at least in previous versions, they might have changed it, you would basically go to war with a country, you would invite the United States to join you on your side, because you'd be building rep with them the whole time, and so that way that they would join the war on your side and wouldn't join the war on the opposite side, because typically they'll join your side as an offensive war as opposed to a defensive war. So that's one way around the Pax Americana. I'm going to pretty much avoid doing that entirely by just playing historical up until they do Pax Americana and then fight them naturally, because I mean that's just the most fair. Alright, so first things first, what do I want to do with my national focus? Well, army effort, going down the equipment, and the motorized effort, this is pretty essential, because right off the bat we get research for a land doctrine that's going to help, infantry weapons is going to help, getting the motorized down 75% is insane, and then just going through there all the way down really helps. This is a really strong tree, surprisingly. I mean, like, way above and beyond some of the main national trees that exist for all the other countries, like US, Germany, etc., etc. This tree is fantastic, especially if you know how to manipulate it. So we'll go through the army effort eventually. Industrial effort, not bad. It allows you to do your research quicker, builds up your civilian infrastructure pretty quickly. Not bad, especially in the Amazon. So going this route is not bad at all, especially to get to those research slots. So you kind of want to jump between the two, back and forth, back and forth. You'll get there eventually, but it's not a bad thing to go back and forth between these two. These will be late game for me. I'm not too worried about getting Air Force or Navy right off the bat. Air Force will probably be much earlier than Navy, but it'll happen. So what we're going to focus, though, is going political effort. This is going to be our main thing first, as we need to go to the political tree. We want to definitely go with not going to the neutral focus, not going through diplomatic means. We want to go through fascist means. Why are we going fascist means? Well, liberty is kind of cool. Get your democracy. You can increase in democracy. You know, you get more trade deal. Then you get into better faction tension limits. And volunteer stuff goes down, guaranteeing goes down, etc., etc. Deterrence is basically you're becoming a mini United States. You're getting a lot of bonuses to your building stuff. Or you go interventionism, which is you get the ability to send volunteer forces much, much earlier while being neutral. And then you get to eventually do volunteers, and then you can send expeditionaries. So, it's kind of cool if you want to stay neutral. Then you get into the whole why we fight, which is basically allowing you to create your own faction, and then you get into technology sharing, which you can do from anywhere. So that's not bad. Technology sharing, what does it do? It basically allows you to gains one research slot. Okay, so it's just the same as the extra researches. So you get a total of 5. That's pretty good because you start off with 2. So instead, we definitely want to go political effort first, because that will allow us to get our fascist manpower, our fascist power generator. We want to go collectivist etho because we kind of have to. And then we want to go nationalism. Why? Because, well, we start getting fascism, then we get army experience right off the bat, and we get the ability to increase our recruitable population immediately. Then we get into even more recruitable population, which is huge. And then you finally get into division training time reduction, which is great. And then, of course, you get the little bonuses there as to core territories, national unity, etc., etc. Now, with that being said, even allows kamikaze strikes. Oh, and I can create my own faction. Cool. We'll see if that even matters. The only thing I wanted to do communism originally, because I was like, it's like fascism, but, somewhat cooler, and I could be like part of the Comintern, or not Comintern, the Commonwealth from the previous season. But instead, what it gets you is basically not much. It's just, increased in communism, and then it's political power, political power, political power. So not a lot of usefulness. I mean, yeah, you get division recovery rate, you get a little bit of national unity. That's really about it. So you really have to want to play thematically to go the communist route. The fascist route is definitely the way to go if you're going for like a world conquest, if you want to be a big superpower. So that is the way I'm going. That is the first thing we're going to do, is our political effort, so that we can get Mr. Where are you? The fascist demagogue. Pendil. Oh, Jesus. Padilla? Sure. Padilla. We'll go with that. So that's who we want. So that way we become fascist right away, becoming a much stronger power so we can start invading our neighbors. Because democratic, basically we can't do anything. Communist, we can, but it's going to not really benefit us as much in the long run as the being the fascists. So, research-wise, well, yeah, you only start with basic equipment. It'd be great to go weapons 1, but you know what you absolutely need first is the mechanical engineering. Having that research time reduction is massive. Followed shortly by the machines, so that way our production efficiency is decent, and so that way we can start working down all these units. Or do we want to do the construction speed? Well, to be honest, construction speed might help us right off the bat, so we're going to do that first, and then we'll jump back over here. So yeah, we'll do construction speed, and then we'll go back and do that. Having only 2 really hurts. It makes things go super slow. Alright, so we have free civilian factories. Currently only have 18 total factories, 7 are being used. How many military factories do we have? Well, we have a whopping 3. So, we want to do a little bit of military, a little bit of infrastructure, and a little bit of civilian, because 18 is not much. Alright, so, that being said, let's get us a few civilian. Let's bump that number up to 20 even. So we'll just plop 2 civilians there. And then, you know what? Since we'll get those right up right away, let's go ahead and then do a little bit. We're not going to be building our military that quickly. It's not a big deal. So what we'll do is we'll improve our ability to go through these areas by just doing, 2 infrastructure total in each. So 1 down there, 2 up here. That allows me to eventually get up to my neighbors. Well, you know what? It's not going to be my priority target. So with that being said, instead, why don't we do military instead? We'll do a handful here. It's going to be... So I have 3, that's 6, that's 8, that's 10. Then I'll do infrastructure in these 2. And then by that time we'll revisit these. I'll probably go back to civilian. So that'll be 20. So we'll do... And we'll go from there. We'll do 20 and then we'll move on. So yeah, we'll let that all work its way through. And then we'll see where to go from there. So that at least gets us going in terms of getting our factories going, getting our infrastructure built up here so that we can attack in the north when we're ready. It's not obviously a priority right away. These are going to be our priorities. And then we'll go from there. Alright, so our factories, it's either military equipment or basic infantry stuff, because that's, well, we can get artillery. Artillery is going to be super useful. Do we want to do artillery, though? I don't have any tungsten coming in. I'm going to be probably burning stuff. We might as well, because artillery is almost essential. When you get artillery, you want to go modify your infantry layout, because the best current standing is 7 infantry and 2 artillery as just like a base flat unit. You can eventually manipulate that. You either want to be in unit power or unit width, so 20, 40, or 60, or some ungodly way of 80. But 20 or 40 is typically what you want. I would prefer 20 over it, but hey. So you can manipulate that number obviously up and down. So I'm thinking artillery is essential to get right away. I mean, obviously we don't have everything we need. It's going to be a long process to get those military factories up and going. It's going to be a slow road for us. Brazil is not meant to be super powered right away. It is what it is. However, we do have a free dockyard. What should we do? Well, quite honestly, probably convoys. We have a whole 2, so we'll get 2 convoys working. We're going to need them for trade anyway, so why not get them building? Even if they are just stockpiling, we'll need them. So I have no infantry divisions being built, so what we should do is we definitely, well, speaking of which, so we have 8 currently, which is actually pretty steep. Is it 8 and 2? 2 and 2, I don't remember. So what I would do basically is add the 2 artillery pieces, that's at 22, and then I'd remove him, and then that's 20. So yeah, 7 and 2. that is the ideal circumstance right here in terms of our firepower, in terms of our combat width being the main thing. I'll discuss this later as we go through this part. That's a lot to cover right this moment. So we'll worry about this later, especially since I can't even do it. So we'll reset back. We're at 16 combat width. It's not great. I really want a couple more. Can I even afford to put in a couple? Well, I mean, I don't even have the experience to do it. But if I wanted to, I'd add 2 more, have a total of 10. That gets me at 20. However, I have no experience with which to do this, so I can't do any of it at all. So we're just going to have to stick with our 8 strong. It's not bad. It's not great, but it's not bad. It'll be negatively affecting us, so what? So let's go ahead and build some divisions here. Oops, didn't mean to click twice. So we're going to build 1 division, and we'll do... how many of them? We'll do groups of 4 at a time, and we'll have them come out in Rio, pretty much, you know, in our main area, because it's just much easier to get to in terms of our resources. We don't have to worry about shipping it all out, having them deployed to the wrong areas. That way they're all right here, not a big deal. We'll skip cavalry because cavalry pretty much is useless except for very slim circumstances. They're basically really good at suppression, so they're great at holding units or holding areas for resistance. They basically suffer penalties pretty much everywhere though, so they're really good at suppression, and that's about it. I mean, you don't even want them to attack, let's be honest. They're pretty much good at suppression. Alright, so that's pretty much taking care of our army training. We have no template for the towed artillery. That's not a big deal because we'll, of course, be building up that artillery, and we can't even do anything with it until we hit some experience. And then we're hurting for resources. So, good old United States of America is going to be our biggest, bestest buddy, and they're going to be giving us lots of supplies until we eventually get over there. So we're basically going to go ahead and say, hey, let's just toss all our factories right at getting what we need. So we already got everything going. That's going to be that. We are now good to basically execute. However, I have a fleet here. I mean, I might as well combine them. No reason not to. We will assign our sole admiral here. And then we'll just have you go on, I guess, search and destroy missions. We'll keep you pretty much to the south. Oops. Did I just lose you? I did. Alright, so we'll just, you know, do that. Take care of this area. Secure our coasts. Not a big deal. It is what it is. You do your thing. As for all my infantry, however, we will group you. I'm way zoomed out. Can't probably even select them all, can I? There we go. Alright, so we'll select them all this way. We will combine them all into an army. We will call this the, well, I mean, it is the Brazilian theater. We'll call it, South. So we'll call it Southern Force. We'll eventually get a Northern Force, but at the meantime we'll have a Southern Force. We're pretty much going to line up right here against Argentina, just to be set. So we want to color them however we want. I'm going to color them kind of similar to what Argentina's color is. Ish. It's kind of like more of a light lavender. Let's go to like the lavenders, go like light. See if I can't get this close. That's pretty close right there. We'll go with that. Alright. So there's that. Close that. We need to have you have a general. So, we have 2 generals to choose from. One is the Jungle Rat, which is in jungles. He's better movement, better attack, better defense. And we have the Ranger, so forests. So forests and jungles. So, what are we looking at in terms of the areas over here? Well, I can't really tell at the moment. So let's do this. What was it? It was supply area, tells us? Does it? Not really. What about states? There we go. States is how you do it. I can't really get it, can I? Oh, there we go. I just select it. Okay. So forest, forest, forest. Plains, forest, 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 forest. So no jungle. It's all forest over here. So with that being said, we're going to definitely want to use the the guy who is set for forests. So this guy, the ranger. He's only rank 3. I cannot promote him because I don't have the stuff. So he can only hold total of 24 soldier or units. Currently has 7. So there we go. We have our force ready. What we're going to do is early on, we're just going to tell them they're going to have a front line against Argentina. Argentina probably won't know that we're doing that, but they'll just deal with it. And then we'll do an offensive line for them, just so that way we can get everything going in terms of our attack strategy. So what will we do? Well, let's be honest, we're going to pretty much capture Buenos Aires and call it a day, because I think that's pretty much all we really need is Buenos Aires. Because there's not many other, there's a handful of like onesies and twosies up and down. So let's do that. Let's set our priority for taking all this, going like that. And we'll do that. That will be our first attack move, and then that'll pretty much be it. Just go straight like that and capture it. Alright, so now that we've set up pretty much everything, we're pretty much ready to start the game. There's nothing else going on. We don't need to set up any, advisors or anything like that, like EU4. Everything is good to go. So we're going to go ahead and kick off. This is not Iron Man mode, by the way, so I can do whatever I want. All the troops will slowly start moving out there. I will bump up the speed probably in the next episode. I mean, we're at 26 minutes, so I will just bump it up slightly. We're going to play it, like I said, a little slower if we need to, just because that way I can take my time to explain things, I can work my way through things a little better, use this more as a teaching guide, whereas the previous games, the Poland game was, well, first we had the France, which was a, first look. And then we had the dual Poland and Commonwealth games. Poland was like an experiment strategy just to see what I could do. And it kind of didn't work how I wanted it to. And then Commonwealth was a multiplayer, just like the French game, except all as one faction instead of against each other and with specific goals in mind, trying to be a certain faction. So this is going to be completely different than anything else. This is, again, going to attempt to show the best way to be Brazil, doing my Wrath of Rio, kind of like, I don't know, cool, punishing the world for the Olympics / taking over the world, showing them Brazil's force, etc., etc. More or less playing as a neutral third country that isn't one of the main superstars of the game, sort of things. Because I know it's fun to play as the underdog. It's fun to play as something that's different. It's not, you can play all the main ones all you want. Pretty much everybody's played all those main ones. So I figured I'd do something different and do Brazil. It just seemed like a cool one. Seemed like it had a very linear path as to where to go. So, and I'm going to follow a general strategy that I have in my mind. I think there's strategies out there on the Hoi 4 wiki, but I could be wrong about that. In fact, I'm probably sure I'm right that there is a strategy out there. I think I looked it up and I was like, it's cool, but I kind of like doing my own thing. So that is what we're going to do. Ooh, one thing I didn't cover though is airplanes. We do have a whole 24. So what we're going to do is we're going to trash these airplanes, so we're going to start from scratch. So airplanes. What do we have? We have airplanes. We are in the airplane map mode. We need to select an airport. We'll do with the Rio Grande. We will, of course, do a new air wing there, and we will send every last airplane we have over there. So now that they're being deployed, we can send them where we want. I kind of want them to be over here to South America. So now I'll have air superiority over there. Alright, so with them over here, I need to then select this territory, this air zone, and tell them their mission. They're going to be intercepting bombers and having air superiority. I'm pretty sure that no one else is going to have anywhere near the airplanes I'm going to have. They might, for all I know. We can actually find that out real quick. What do you have detail-wise? Well, they do have as many airplanes, if not more, than me. They have as many, if not more, troops than me. And their navy is somewhat stronger. However, they're hurting for their military factories, and their civilian factories are weaker than mine. So arguably I can build up quicker than them, but we will see. We will see. It'll be an interesting little skirmish and battle here to see if we can do it. Ooh, I have 2 of these guys. So one thing I want to do is select these 2 guys. And how do I change division template like that? So I have 2 cavalry units, and as we said, they're not great at much of anything. So I selected those 2 units, and I'm going to change them to infantry because cavalry is not very good for what I want to do. So we just do the change unit template for those 2. I was holding shift, by the way, to select those multiple units, and I'll hit infantry. So yes, I will basically lose some support equipment, I'll lose some infantry equipment, and I'll lose some manpower, which I have plenty of. So the infantry equipment and the support equipment is going to hurt, but we'll make it up over time. So there we have it. 2 new units being built, or swapped over, so now I have all infantry instead of cavalry. Again, cavalry, only thing that is really going for it is the speed. Everything else, not really going for it. But alright, I think that about wraps it up for this first episode of The Wrath of Rio. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys are learning stuff as we go. I will keep working at it, and I will keep bringing you more. So thank you, everybody, and I will catch you in the next episode where we build up and get ready to take on Argentina. If you guys enjoyed, please let me know. If you guys have any questions, hit me up in the comments. And of course, if you like it, please subscribe. Obviously, that helps. And yeah. So I'll catch you guys in the next episode. Thanks. See you then.